Tech 101, your essential guide to understanding the technology shaping our world, translating complex innovation into practical knowledge you can use with confidence. With the
Mm,
confidence, Miss Jackie, how are you, partner?
doing good. How are you?
I'm fabulous, and this is what? Fourth episode.
Yes, hard to believe it. Wow.
It's hard to believe it. So I think we need applause for that, Miss Jackie. We need an applause. Yes. Thank you for the fourth episode and more episodes to come for sure to give you the best of the best episode on Tech 101. So, Miss Jackie, what will be our topic for today?
Today we're going to talk about radio and TV, how the screen era begins.
Radio and TV.
Mm.
Mm.
So imagine a time when your whole neighborhood watched the same show at the same time. Mm. Think back to that. Yeah, like the Cosby
19
Show or something like
Cosby's.
that. Thursday nights were the Cosby
Yeah.
Show. Everybody
Yes.
tuned in. Yeah, exactly.
Spider Man.
Right.
The old Spider Man, Wonder Woman. My
Yes.
goodness. Those are the
Right.
old 80s, 90s. How about the 60s? How do you
Oh
remember, Miss
yeah.
Jackie? Not 60s.
I mean, I wasn't alive then, but I do remember my mom talking about everyone, and it was happening when I was growing up too, in the 80s and the 90s. But in the 60s, my mom talked about how everyone would gather around the TV, and yeah, they
Mm-hmm.
would watch Leave It to Beaver and things like that. And so, yeah, it's really neat. And then when I was growing up, it was the Cosby Show, it was the Golden Girls, it was shows like that. Yeah, so yeah,
Mm-hmm.
different. So it was fun to gather around with the family and do that.
True. That's true.
Yeah.
And at that time, the TV is so huge, right? Like a
Hmm.
cube. They put in a box. It's like you're gonna open it. Okay, open sesame and black and white.
Exactly. You didn't have a remote control. You had to go up and yeah, and tune it.
With the
The big
sound click.
yeah, the
Mm,
big rabbit ears where you had to make sure that you had a good you didn't have snowy picture and all that stuff.
yes.
So yeah, it almost felt like sometimes you had to do a handstand just to get it to get a not to have a snowy picture. It's funny. Yeah.
Those the days, people. Black and white TV, and we are so happy at the time that we have a TV black and white. We are not complaining why this is not color.
Right. Exactly. And you only had what, 12 channels, if that, and now you have
12
hundreds.
channels. You're lucky if you have a 12 channels. How about one channel?
Right. Exactly.
Imagine one
Yeah.
channel, just only one program. And how about the radio? What TV, not TV, a radio program that you like best, Miss Jackie, when you're young?
Uh, I liked some of the ones that were the ones that would come on radio because they had the different actors that would play the different characters, but then they also had sound effects, and so you had to guess and try to think, oh, okay, so they're giving me clues, and then you would tune in the next week and you would get the answers right, and you'd find out, okay, was I right or was I not right, and they would
Hmm.
give you a red herring and things like that, and because they didn't tell you that was a red herring, but it threw you off a little bit, but they didn't want to make it too hard. But yeah, I always like that because I could imagine myself in that scenario, like hearing the door knock, and they would actually have the door, you could hear a door knocking, so it was fun. I think I like that during radio times.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Definitely. So as we go on, people, technologies changes. Radio, TV, they become thinner, smaller, accessible 24/7 without the antenna. Mm,
Hmm.
right?
Right.
Remember that we need to have a taller antenna just to have this 12 stations for TV. Now, cable.
Right.
What, like
Satellite.
300
Hmm.
satellite, 365 channels? You don't know
Yeah.
where to pick.
Right.
My goodness. Now the technology is getting what? More intriguing, more interesting, and it's hard to pick.
Right.
Different kinds of brand of TVs, different kinds of radio. Now it evolved to podcasting, just like what we're doing right now.
Right. It's a form of entertainment. Absolutely. Yes.
Yes. Thank God for the technology that they created. Now we are getting better and we can do anytime, anywhere. Even we did not study journalism or broadcasting. Now we can do what we want, but make sure you are good to it. Just like Miss Jackie and I.
Right. Absolutely.
Yes. So, Miss Jackie, the TV before TV and radio that was the dominant storyteller. How did the lack of visual image actually create more personal and potent from engagement, where the family collectively imagine Lone Ranger and the invasion from Mars?
I think it allowed us to uh, be storytellers in a way that we never imagined before. Because, like you said, you didn't have the visuals, so you had to imagine it in your mind,
Mm-hmm.
right? So, to me, it was like it's like reading a book. You have to
True.
imagine what the characters look like. Other than having maybe a cover image on the book, you really didn't have much to go on. It was all written down, so you had to kind of imagine what the characters looked like and what the scene would look like, especially if it was somewhere you've never been, right? And maybe
Mm-hmm.
you've read about it or you were told what it looked like, but you've never been there. So you're having to try to imagine so much. And I think that's what allowed us to be good storytellers, because we had to hook people, we had to get their attention and intrigue. And I think to helped us to be critical thinkers too, because we really had to think about that, especially something like a mystery genre. I think it really was like, ooh, I have to really think this through this and see where the clues are and how I can solve it. So yeah.
Just like our upcoming podcast, people, mystery stories 101, right? Miss
Correct.
Jackie.
Hmm.
Yes. So that's what we're gonna do. We give you clues, we give you story, and it's up to you to imagine what we are talking about. It's true what they said that reading a book is better than watching, because when you're reading, your mind will think, it will function, not just like when you're watching is there already. What's the color of the hair is black, what's the color of the face and everything, what's the color of the surrounding, automatically it goes to your perception. While in reading, you need to conceptualize, you need to think, you need to do your own thinking of what the story talking about, which is your brain is working.
Right.
Mm,
Absolutely. Yeah, it's working on a higher level, right? Yeah,
mm,
definitely. Right. Whereas with TV, it's definitely more passive. It's not Your brain is not as active. A lot of people will watch TV while they're doing chores or housework, something like that. Unless it's something that they really, want to get involved in and want to really pay attention to. Most people just kind of have it on and as as a background type of thing.
mhm.
Yeah. But with me, when it comes to things I really like to watch and like drama series and mystery series and things like that, I like to just really get engrossed. I like to be like, nope, no distractions. I like to make sure that I'm fully engaged in it. So for me, it is like reading a book, but more of my senses are engaged in it than when I'm reading a book. But yeah, there's pros and cons to both, right?
Mhm.
For sure. Yeah.
So, Miss Jackie, in a radio world, I should say, credibility comes from the tone, cadence, and reputation. Just like before, right? If we're listening radio, we like that radio because there is already credibility.
Right.
And how this sudden addition of a visual, a person face, their dress, their setting fundamentally changed the nature of authority, trust in media.
I think one thing is that, of course, with television, unlike radio, you have eye contact that the person can give on the screen, where you didn't have that with
Mm-hmm.
radio. So it's very interesting. So you didn't know what their body language was like on radio, right? They could sound great, but who knows? Maybe behind the scenes, they were just like, I just want to get this over with. I want to go home, right? But on TV, right? But on TV, they can't mask that. They can't hide behind a microphone. And so I
Mm-hmm.
think it's interesting how TV is different in that sense. And so even like, doing interviews and things like that, you can't really plan ahead for those things. With maybe something that you may not expect the interviewee to say, you just go, oh, then they have to pivot, they have to change. So yeah, so I think radio probably was a little bit more planned, maybe, and they had, they could have those scripts and not have that visibility. But with television, you have to make sure they're always on, right? And always ready. Yes.
So, Miss Jackie, do you think in your place in the US, is it radio is still alive as like before, comparing like 70s, 80s, which is they are the king and queen?
Yeah, I think radio still does have some dominance here in the United States, like their Sirius XM, which is a satellite radio, and so you can get some good radio through that. And there's also just the local radio stations that we have that can come through on the car when you're driving. But it's funny because I don't listen to the radio in the house anymore. I don't even have a radio in my
Mm-hmm.
house, just in the
Mm-hmm.
car. That's the only time we're listening to the radio. And my mom and I don't we don't go out very often, so we're hardly ever listening to the radio. So it's TV most of the time now. So I think it's there, but I think it all depends on how often people are driving or how often they're traveling and things like that, as to how often they're going to listen to the radio. So it's around. I don't think it's going to completely go away because people still like to travel. I know people that like to get in their uh, their, oh, what do they call those? The Daniel, where you travel across the country and stuff like that, in your
Oh,
motorhome or something like that.
Motorheart. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so people like to do that and then travel from place to place and really check out the country like that, and
Mm-hmm.
sometimes even go into Canada and stuff like that and check out those areas as well. So I don't think it's going to go away completely because people do like to travel and go to different places. So it'll still be
Mm-hmm.
around, but I think
Yes.
TV will. I think it's always going to be
Stick.
the yeah, it's always going to be the one that's going to be around because even those nice motorhomes, you can have a TV in there now, of course, in most of them, if not all.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Certainly. And nowadays, Miss Jackie, because of booming of podcasts, sometimes people now are listening more on podcasts than radio, right? It's there,
Right.
but it's getting lesser and lesser and lesser because of the modification that we are doing, like podcasting, right?
Right.
Radio is come from podcasting for sure. What we're doing right now is just like we are talking on radio, which is we modify through Wi-Fi or internet. So it's a modification that transform radio in our history.
Hmm. Absolutely. Yeah, it is. It's interesting because radio's been around for a long time, and then you're right, podcasting kind of came from that, and then it evolved right with radio, and what it became. And for a long time there were only audio podcasts, but now, like you said, with the internet and everything, how it's improved with Wi-Fi, we've been able to do things like this and have it live across social media where we couldn't do that before. So it's really changed so much in what we do. Yeah, it's
Yes,
amazing.
and thank you for being part of it. We
Yes,
are
happy
part
to
for
be.
we are doing lots of podcasts, and well, our aim is to empower people all over the world. What we have 8 billion people. One of these people or one person will be empowered of our one of podcast that we are doing. That is priceless.
Mm, right.
Mm,
It's priceless. Hmm.
definitely. Just like when I was first thing I will do doing podcasting. I told you last time that I listened to one of our podcasts called How I Built This by Guy Raz. And I was inspired. I told to myself, I want to be like him. So I was empowered by him. So now I'm creating lots of podcasts that I'm giving back. That one of people all over the world is empowered. Oh, I want to be like him, and then create podcasts more than like 50 podcasts than me. Imagine.
Oh wow. Imagine that. It's like the kids growing up that wanted to be like Michael Jordan. I want to be like Mike, right? They even came out with a
Mm,
movie. Yeah, so it's kind
yes.
of like you found someone that really you could say to yourself, I want to be like this person. I want to model what I'm doing
Hmm.
after his what he what he created and what he started. Yeah, that's neat.
And then you double it, right? I want to be like
Hmm.
him, but I double it. How about if the person that I am inspired, it triple it?
Oh,
Imagine.
right. Yeah, it just goes to show that there's no limits to what you can do. So, wow, that's amazing. Because you're up
No
to how many
limits.
podcasts now on your network now, Daniel, right?
We
How
are
many?
having now, yes, Miss Jackie, thank you for your mystery. I did not yet include it to my newsletter this month, but I will include next month. But in
Great.
total, we are having like 22 podcasts.
Wow, that deserves an
Imagine.
applause.
Yes, I have a new podcast with Chef Alessandro, Pastry 101.
Oh, wow. That'll be fun.
Pastry, that would be fun, baking and everything. Because I love baking than cooking. So I said, Chef Alessandro, we need to have one more podcast because all my co-hosts, we have 5 or 4 podcasts. You are the only one have one. We need to have one more podcast. I said, okay, let's do Pastry 101. I said, okay, let's do it next Sunday. So
Nice.
Pastry 101. I think I have, if I add with that, it will become 24 plus. I have my co-host on Science 101. I said, Mr. Mark, we need to do one more podcast. I said, what are the things that you like best? I said, I like psychology. Oh, let's do psychology 101.
Oh, wow. That's
So,
amazing.
that'd be amazing. So I started with inspiration with Guy Raz. I created this what my aim is to have a 30 podcast. So more to come, Miss Jackie.
You're almost there. You're almost there.
Almost there, almost there. So, Miss Jackie, TV made remote events feel immediate. How does the ability to see a political convention, just like a war in Vietnam, right? Good morning,
Right.
Vietnam. You can remember that
Yes. Yes.
on
Yes.
radio. A
Right.
special, is this a special lunch for your coach collab the distance between citizen and event, and what new from the political and social engagement did that create? It creates huge,
Oh,
right?
yes, absolutely. What's really interesting is you can go back in the vaults as they call them, right? And you can go back and look at events that happened uh decades ago, right? And you can
Mm-hmm.
actually see them again on television. They pull back the archives and pull them out. And so it's really neat because then you can see what happened then and what's happening now and correlate them to each other. Where we couldn't do that in the 70s, 80s, 90s even. I mean, do you remember when we had the VHS recorders, with those big
Yes,
tapes, right? And you only had
Betamax.
yeah, and you only had so much room on those tapes. And then if it got ruined, you were out of luck, and
Mm-hmm.
if it didn't record, that there were times where the recorder didn't work or something like that. So yeah, so it was tough. But now you can do digital recording and everything, so that's changed too. But yeah, it's really neat to actually go back and watch things from decades ago and relive those things, right? And go, wow, like President Kennedy's speech, his inauguration speech, Martin Luther King, what he said during his
Mm-hmm.
speech, "I have a dream," and that's shown in classrooms. I would hope still today, and things like that. So even like just recently, the Challenger space spaceship that happened 40 years ago, this past week. And so they actually went back and looked at all the different individuals. There was a teacher that was on there, there was other kind of individuals and things like that, and they looked at their lives, did a deeper dive that they didn't do back then. They knew more, we know more about them now because more people are speaking out about them. So I think TV has really changed that and allowed us, as it gets better, it's allowing us to do those things that we couldn't do before. So it's pretty neat.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely. And to wrap up our discussion for today, Miss Jackie, the DNA of modern media. If we look like at TikTok, YouTube, or even Zoom or Riverside, what an undeniable piece of cultural or technological DNA we can trace directly back to the choices, accidents, and discoveries made in the first chaotic decades of scene or screen era.
Mm. Yeah, I think it's made things more accessible than they've ever been before. So, during the early times of the radio, it took a while for people to be able to get a radio in their home. And same thing with
Mm-hmm.
TV, it took a while for people to get that. But now, as time goes on, it becomes more and more accessible because it becomes more affordable for people and things like that. So I think as time goes on and as the technology gets better, people can get the they may not have the latest greatest television like me. I don't have the latest and greatest television. I'm not going to go out and buy one every time, just like I don't have the latest iPhone or anything
iPhone.
like that.
Mm-hmm.
Right. But I know it's going to meet the needs of what I want. And I'll just utilize the phone or the TV until I can't use it anymore. And then I'll go out and get another one. So, yeah. So I just think it makes it more accessible than ever before. I think that's the biggest shift and change that I've seen in radio and TV these days.
Mm, definitely. In the end of the story, modern platform is less about rapture and more about inheritance. Like TikTok, YouTube, Zoom, or Riverside feel revolutionary because of the scale is a planetary and velocity is instantaneous. Yet the underlying blueprint was drafted when society first discovered the screens could carry personality. So, Miss Jackie, would you like to plug in something?
Sure. If anybody would like to learn more about education and instructional design, they can follow my podcast, which is called Designing with Love. And I've got some mini series that are out and some that are coming. So feel free to check out my website for that as well. It's designingwithloveblog.com. Thank you.
Yes, people, let's support Miss Jackie Pellegrin because if you support her, for sure, more and more empowering episodes of the podcast itself. And we're looking for the upcoming book, Miss Jackie. And please do listen to our 5 podcasts now with Miss Jackie Pellegrin. We have Tech 101, we have AI 101, which is we are live every Friday, and our Bible verses 101 and what the other coaching 101 are live every Saturday. So please do tune in. And coming after this, our new podcast, Mysteries 101. Oh, Mysteries Stories 101.
Correct. Yep, you got it.
Yes. So, more to come, people. See you soon. Oh, Miss Jackie, thank you for your time.
Thank you for joining and keep learning.